not on a more practical level.
Why is that specifically by this chasana as opposed to something else?
Because in the chasana we can identify a core element that is literally a core source of the whole thing, that goes beyond any spread, any personal experience. Where you could say, okay, here is more personal, less personal. This is in a different realm completely. Because as soon as Benoi, his relationship to his son and his joy is of a different caliber than that of all the people around. All the people around, to give you a little bit of a handle, they come to the chasana in deference to the environment. It's like a feedback. There's an interrelationship. The son does not even say a thank you. That's not what it's about. The father says thank you to the son, because the son represents and gives the father a sense of reality that he would have been hidden if not for the son. This is why this is a motion. Use of emotion. That where was a choice of Israel made, not on any functional level. Before you can even see that they behave a little differently than anybody else. I don't know to what extent you're familiar with Tanakh. I'm sure you heard of the famous quote. It's called Telegish Begiva. You know what happened there? Something I can't do. Very, very reminiscent of that. The redeeming factor of it was that after this occurred, the entire nation stood up. A fire. What's going on over here? Let's clean it up. That was the whole Mechomer. But in terms of what occurred, can't even fathom it. The Gemara says, Pesel Micho over Imohem Bayam. Tanakh tells that Micho had a pesel, had an idol that he carried from Egypt.
What's the pesel? What's the pronunciation of the pesel?
Pesel Micho, Obimam had gone through the Yamsuf. In the he carried it through the Yamsuf. while the waters were standing up, he carried the person with him.
Carried the what?
Idol.
The idol. And then this idol was stolen from him by the Bnei Dom. You know the story. So all of these things are not extremely beautiful, so to speak, from a practical perspective. Even what happened in the Midbar. 40 days after Matan Torah, when they said Asa v'Nishma, they made a negel. And over the years, many times said, okay, forget about Moshe, let's go back. Rashi even relates that it says in the Torah, Shom Mei Saharim, when you call him Aaron died in I don't know exactly the place. So Rashi said, Aaron didn't die, Aaron died in Hehohor. What happened? When Aaron died, the Nana HaKoved were removed.
Welcome to IDT Connect. Please enter your conference ID.
Yes, that's fine.
Got to me. So there was a whole milchama.
Welcome to the
Golan Benoni's
conference room. Please enter.
So this is not on the practical. This is
At the tone, please thank you. You are now entering the conference room. To exit the conference room, press ***. For help, press *9. You are participant number 1.
and our on the essential level, we're right there. And then when we're exposed to the world, we get lost.
This element in mashal is like the reality of the fact that the son is getting married. That's an extension of the father's reality to something intangible. What is that in the mashal? The bechira of the yidden in the nimshal is similar to what aspect of the mashal?
It's not an extension; it's a representation. And in the mashal, the same thing. Yidden are rooted in atzmos.
That's the nimshal. And in the mashal,
In the mashal, the son is rooted in the father.
and that's the joy. That's the cause of the joy.
That's a cause of joy. Okay. Okay, 2 lines from the bottom. Let's get into it. So the Rebbe explains in the Moshe of the Simchas Benoi that everything, the entire Simcha, and the entire encompassment of the Simcha, how broadly and ever it spreads, it all really draws from the core. But there's a big difference. Ubevadai, okay, 2 lines. Ubevadai, and surely yesh havdolo gemura be'atzmai. There's a total and clear distinction. Be'atzmai, within himself. Bein ike pnimis atainuk, between the principle and the core of the inner tainuk, v'hu mashereitze b'mkurovo u'bnei Beis, and that part which is, this is the ike pnimis atainuk, that roitze b'mkurovo u'bnei Beis, that he wants his friends, those who are close to him, and relatives of the Beis and his household people, sheyesangu, that they should delight b'tanugel ha'atzmi, the word b'tanugoi should be not b'tanugei, b'tanugoi, the last word. B'tanugoi ha'atzmi. They should delight in his personal principle einik, shemashpi alohem, which he is bestowing upon them, mibchinas hapnimiyus v'ha'atzm shalei mamash, that he is giving to them, and it's rooted and it draws from the pnimis ha'atzm shalei mamash, of his true essence. That is to be distinguished, and there is always a distinction and a difference between that and the Chitzein Ezorotza, the external part of the Rotza. Masharoitza, the fact that he wants, Shagam Hamuruchokim, that the distant ones also Yisangu, that they too should delight. Shenim Shah Bozeh, in this aspect of that the distant one should delight, he is also participating. He's drawn into this, but he's drawn into this b'derech moises v'neivus, only in a manner of moises of excess, v'neivus, and that the periphery, that and fallout. Rak, except Shuhu Adayin Behelem Beyatzmi. We'll have to go back and explain a bit more what the Rebbe is saying. But first we learn the words of each one. You can think into it. Rak Shuhu Adayin Behelem Beyatzmi. Except that this difference during the celebration itself, this distinction is behela, is adayin, is still behela be'atzma, is still concealed within himself. Beina nikar kol kach, and it is not that obvious. V'yachar kach, but afterwards, boha ha'havdola begiluy, bein hapnimis v'amesis. Then afterwards, there is an open and a clear distinction. Ben apnimis ha'ames is between the pnimis and the excess. Again, let's finish the whole presentation here. V'hainu, when does it become obvious? That is, kashe yichle hashefa shel hamesis. When the hashefa, when the largesse that goes out to the mesis of the excess will end. Yavoy eir hapnimi begilim kurov. Then the eir hapnimi, the deeper and personal oir expression will come, Begilu will be fully, more clearly expressed in Kurovim, to those who are close to him. In other words, during the process of the Simcha, there are two aspects in the Simcha. There's the celebration aspect, and then there is the core aspect. What are you celebrating? The celebration aspect extends and expands and incorporates a wide spread of relationships. And even those who are distant are also included in that, the celebration aspect. This is, so to speak, the actual experience of the celebration. But the cause for the celebration, which continues on after the celebration, that remains beyond. At that point, there's a clear distinction between those who are on the periphery and those who are on the inside. Although the entire celebration came from that core. When there was this broader expression, it was not a second thought, a separate thought. We should really accommodate these people as well. It was not an extra thought. The initial celebration included a broader expression. So at that point, you couldn't tell the difference. But again, when does it surface? When can you tell the difference? When the active celebration ends, and there remains only the core. And at that point, there is a clear distinction. And as the Medrash Rabbah says, Al Posik Bayim Hashmini Atzeres, the 8th day, this refers to the 8th day of Sukkot. So even though Sukkot is actually 7 days, and then it says Bayim Hashmini, the 8th day. The 8th day is an 8th day because we had a whole slew of 7 days. We had a complete line of 7 days, and this was also a period of Simcha and so forth. The 8th day is a separate entity. The 7 days, this was the expression of bestowing of brachas and so forth. The 8th day is a separate mitzias, and yet we call it the 8th day. Because the 8th day, all the 7 days have an inherent core. But in the 7 days you can't tell. In the 7 days we brought korbanos for all the nations, for the entire world. Mashmini, there remains only the core. That's what Bayim Hashmini Atzeres. The Medrash says Atzeres. Atzeres means hold back. And the Medrash, the Medrash gives is Beyu Negalgil Anivo Oto. He gives the Moshe that a king made a big feast to celebrate his great Simcha. And he had the entire world as guests. After the celebration, he asked his very close friend, he says, hold back, don't go away together with everybody else. You stay back with me just for 1 day. When the Galgia Nivot and Shunai, we can celebrate by ourselves, me and you. What was wrong with the celebration, with the John celebration? They are not related to the me celebration. They're related to the celebration element, but not to the core of it. They can participate in the joy, in the celebration aspect of the day, but not in inner core of this joy. I want you to be with me by ourselves, so that we will actually focus on the core. That's in the Galgal Nivot. The Be'emes, which means to say that in truth, the that the very beginning, in the very beginning, Tachlis HaKavanah, the ultimate goal and purpose was Bishvil Ha'oyev Davka, was specifically and exclusively for the sake of this friend. Or Bishvil Zeh, and for this sake, in order to be able to enjoy with a friend, Hoyo Hoysa HaHashpa Lakei. There was a hashpa for all. Because this joy with a friend was an overflowing joy, and everybody benefited from it. But it was not clearly identifiable, recognizable that he was the core. This was the reason for the whole joy. But after that, the larger expression ended, Nira hapnimius, and the pnimius surfaces. Come and we will celebrate, and galgil, we will dance, me and you, just by ourselves. We don't need anybody else. Again, what is the emphasis here? It's important to understand the emphasis, and I don't know how clearly we'll be able to relate to it. The emphasis is that the inclusion of the entire world in this simcha came from the core of the simcha. Because the simcha was so great and so overwhelming, everybody was included. But that does not take away the core. It does not, so to speak, eliminate that there is a core to it. There is definitely a core, except from this core, everybody benefits and is included. And everybody, whoever is participating in this celebration, gets their allergies, gets their gift of joy from this core. So at that point, everybody is equal. It is true they get it from the core, but they don't have the core itself. And that is the difference.
Will it be different for them to celebrate, to participate in celebration, let's say, of a person who marries his only son, or I don't know what, somebody finished job project, I don't know, like any other thing that people celebrate, for people who participate, since they don't have a core, like, and only participate in celebration?
So what's your question?
My question is, since we're saying that they don't really get a core, right? That they only relate and benefit from celebration aspect. So my question is, but this celebration is a very special celebration. It does have a core, but then there are some celebrations they don't really, they have like very superficial core or not.
Then there is. It reminds me of the story from Reb Chaim, the preaching. In the preaching, they were totally spoiled. There was absolutely nothing. They had they owned the country, so to speak, and they nightly used to get together, nightly, and let go and drink themselves down to a pulp. every night. There was no called out celebration. Is that your question?
Well, I mean that's kind of that's too far.
They were celebrating celebration. They're not celebrating anything.
Like in this celebration that we're talking about, it's mamish like essential value that is there. We're talking about son is wedding, which we understand. It's like
Come on, get to the point.
The point is like if you have like a celebration that's not of that kind of a significance, that's not.
In any if something has a significance draws from the person, there's a difference between how it affects others and how it affects you.
Right.
What makes the Bnei Beis,
What?
the Bnei Beis and the Mukarabim, the fact that they're able to share in the essential core of the celebration, what about them is different than the rest of the people? In other words, it's because of their connection to the Father,
Right.
and they really care about what the Father cares about,
Right.
rather than just the excitement or whatever it is, than the experience.
Right.
They're relating to the intangible.
Right. But man, they're related to the intangible on the tangible level. This is our friend. And he has got this very special moment, and we are joining him, and really joining him. In other words, we are enjoyed because of his joy. But we enjoy because of his joy, not because he has given us a chance to enjoy. The Mechokim, they don't relate to his joy. They relate to the opportunity of the joy that was given to them.
What do you mean they relate to the intangible on a tangible level?
They don't know the exact meaning of father and son.
They don't have that same joy.
They don't directly relate to it. But they relate to the fact that this is a personal friend who has got this deep joy. And that touches them. Whereas the Meruchokim, they don't even relate to that.
Even though this relatives of his or whatever other people that they also had their own only son married, they still don't get this.
Oh, they know what it feels like, but they don't.
But it's
feel
not
it.
their. It's not their
It's
son.
not their thing. Okay. Let's. Okay, but Dugam is that this will come tonight in Mitzvah. Have a great day.
It's similar to the statement that a chassid made that the curtains on the Rebbe's house is more important than the milk of the.
Than milk of his baby.
In other words, he's relating to the truth of it. You know, yeah, it's similar. Right.
Definitely. Where does that express itself? It says that a person, in a time of great joy, like the Chassidus B'nai, his chushim open up, and he's able to do things that under normal circumstances he couldn't do. Just doesn't have that capacity, either insight or generally accomplishing and overcoming difficulty. Things open up and he's in a different level. A chassid has the Rebbe shekoiches. But he can do things, and he can face circumstances that a normal human being couldn't.
They're like the Mukaravim and the Moshe.
They are even more than Mikra. They are Aniva Oto.